from their teams. And then we will have a Q&A session at the end. If you have any questions, please type them in the chat box and we will address them later. Also, I want to ask you and inform you that this session will be recorded, and just wonder if you are all okay with this, and most probably then we will upload the recording. So I will briefly explain how this webinar came about, starting with a historical event that takes us back nearly 1 century. All of these three regions, Palestine, Iraqi Kurdistan, Greece, and especially Lesvos, were once upon a time part of the Ottoman Empire. The dissolution of the Ottoman Empire after the First World War, along with the interventions of major powers, and particularly Great Britain, played a crucial role in shaping the conflicts and borders that persist up to this day. Of course, over these past 100 years, many things have changed, new dynamics have emerged, new states have been formed, and we are now separate, but in different borders and boundaries that often seems to keep us apart. This webinar is an attempt to engage in a collective conversation and explore how its regions influence and is influenced by the others. It also seeks to highlight the points of solidarity that unite us, both in theory and in practice. And at this point, I'd like to ask the teams to introduce themselves and their work that they are doing in these regions. And maybe Amira, you can share some things.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Christina, for the introduction. This is me, Amira Rajabi. I'm working with CPT Palestine, and I would love to talk a lot summary about CPT Palestine. CPT Palestine is present in Hebron and Masafa Yatta, building partnership to transform violence and oppression. We support Palestinian-led, nonviolent grassroots resistance against the Israeli occupation through solidarity and advocacy with Palestinians living in H2 area and South Hebron Hills. CPT began its works in 1995 after the Ibrahimi Mosque massacre, supporting Palestinian communities facing oppression, displacement, and violence under occupation. The team accompany Palestinians in their daily struggle, monitor military checkpoints, and support communities resisting forced displacement. By partnering with local activists, international allies, CPT raises awareness about the realities on the ground and the global actions and justice and peace.
Amaran, would you like to share some things about the Iraqi Kurdistan team?
Thanks, Christina. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining this webinar. My name is Kamaran Othman. I come from Iraqi Kurdistan, and I work with the team CPT team in Iraqi Kurdistan since 2019. CPT is present in Iraq since 2002, but then the team moved to Iraqi Kurdistan since 2006. So we work in Iraqi Kurdistan on two main projects. One of the projects is supporting villagers, farmers, and all the civilians who have been impacted by the Turkish and Iranian ongoing military operations. We are documenting and reporting about that and also advocating for the civilian rights to be protected. And the second project that we do have is supporting journalists and activists who are facing obstacles, torture, imprisonment, and even sometimes assassination. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Kamaran. Nefeli, would you like to continue?
Hello, everyone. I'm Nefeli. Thanks for joining this morning, evening, wherever you are. I'm Nefeli. I'm from the team in Lesvos in Greece. The team here is since 2013. I have joined since 2021. We are a team here that we support people on the move, and that we monitor our main project is trial monitoring of people who are so-called boat drivers, trying to monitor their cases and when their human rights are violated inside the courtroom. That's the main thing, and the rest is that in general we are trying to advocate and support and create campaigns about people on the move, and that's for now, and we'll go on the discussion. Thank you.
I'd like to say also a couple of things about the structure of this webinar. It will be structured with 3 rounds of questions that each team will approach from their scope, their work, and their conflicts that they are infected, the location that they are at. And after this, we will continue with the Q&A. So I'd like to start from Amira and ask her, how have the ongoing occupation and the recent aggression on Gaza affect Palestinian migration patterns, both internally and internationally? And what changes displaced communities now face as a result?
Okay. To understand displacement in Palestine, we need to start with the biggest events. The first major displacement happened in 1948, when hundreds of thousands of Palestinians were forced to leave their homes. Another wave happened in 1967, and since then, displacement continues every day, though the number vary. According to UNRWA, during the recent aggression on Gaza, 1.9 million Palestinians were forced to move from the north to the south Gaza. In the West Bank, over 46,500 dunams of Palestinians' land were taken last year for settlements expansion, forcing more people and Palestinians to move. After the Oslo Accords, Israel divided the West Bank to areas A, B, and C. Before the recent aggression, Israeli mainly took lands from Area C, where some organization could sometimes still provided support. But now, after this last aggression, they are seizing land in Area A and B, where organizations cannot intervene at all. CPT works in Masafir Yatta, South Hebron Hills, and the old city H2 of Al Khalil Hebron, and the situation is extremely difficult. In Masafir Yatta, South Hebron Hills, entire villages like Zanuta have been displaced due to the attacks and threats from Israeli settlers. Many families depend on farming and sheep grazing, but settlers attack them, destroy their crops, burn their sheep's food, and take over their lands. Families with children live in fear, and when they are forced to move to cities or villages, they struggle with a completely different way of life. This causes separation and hardship for many families. In the restriction area of Hebron H2, life feels like being in a prison. People face daily attacks, arrests, and detentions. Soldiers control movement through checkpoints, often keeping people waiting for hours just because of their mood. Organizations like CPT and any other organization not allowed to enter at all. So we don't even know how many families have been displaced from the area. And always there is an attack from the settlers against these families. Palestinians resist every day, and that gives hope, but there are limits. People are exhausted from the restrictions and violence. Displacement is always the last option, but many people don't even have that choice.
Thank you, Amira, for sharing this and all the informations that you bring to the table. Kamaran, I'd like to ask you, the Kurdistan region of Iraq has experienced significant challenges over the past few decades, including the US invasion of Iraq, the rise of ISIS, and ongoing military operation by neighboring countries like Turkey and Iran. How these conflicts affect the region and what impact they had on local communities, particularly in terms of migration of people to Europe or to other Western countries.
Thanks, Christina. I will start with the Turkish and Iranian military operations, how it affected Iraqi Kurdistan and the communities in Iraqi Kurdistan. Actually, since Turkey started the military operation, and also Iran, even in the time of the Iran-Iraq war, still was bombing Iraqi Kurdistan. 183 villages have been completely displaced because of the bombardments, and also 602 villages until now they are under the threat of being evacuated. When we say that, it means like we have some villages in the past 50 families were living, now only one family is left, and we have 400 villages that after the uprising or liberation of Iraqi Kurdistan after Saddam's regime could not have been renovated, and people could not return back to their villages because of these ongoing military operations. I can say because of these military operations, almost all the villages in the border have been wiped out, and they are trying to go to the bigger cities. When they are going to the bigger cities, they lose their, they don't have any income, they don't have any job. So what they have to do is just leaving the country and migrate to somewhere else. Since 1991, almost 900 people have been killed or injured by the Turkish and Iranian military operations. There's a village which is in Iraqi Kurdistan. We have Christian community, like the minorities. We have other minorities as well. So there is a valley which is called Nahla Valley. It is the only Christian community that they live in that valley. Because of the Turkish military operations, almost all the villages are evacuated now. Only few families remained in the area. So I can say the Turkish and Iranian military operations, they were not only jeopardizing the life of the civilians, they also impacted the economy of the people. They impacted the culture, the psychology of the people. People cannot handle the situation anymore. For example, we visited one of the villages. Like we talked to the students, they were telling us when someone is shutting the door, they feel it's a bombardment. How someone can live or study in an environment like that? Another student told us when a normal plane is coming, when the normal plane is flying, we feel it is a bomb, like it is a fighter jet or a drone will bomb us. So all of this situation made people to not feel safe in Iraqi Kurdistan and not stay in Iraqi Kurdistan anymore. Turkish and Iranian bombardments are not the only reason, but we had ISIS war as well. Since 2014, only in my hometown, which is in the area 320,000 people are living. In the last few years, 36,000 people left. Like when we are walking in the neighborhood, we cannot see the young people anymore. The young people are leaving. And sometimes the European countries are saying people from Iraqi Kurdistan, when they leave, it's not only, it's not because of the war. It is because of the war, because the war is not only physically impacting people, it's impacting the economy, it's psychologically impacting people in the same time. And another thing, the US invasion in Iraq, it's supposed to be liberation as they name it, but it was completely an invasion to Iraq, and it impacted Iraqi Kurdistan as well, because it was a green light for Turkey to enter more, and it was a green light for Iran to intervene more in the area. And when Turkey and Iran, they are doing a military operation, so you cannot feel safe, you cannot stay in the area anymore. So I can say every single family in Iraqi Kurdistan have someone who left Iraqi Kurdistan because of the war, because of the bombardment. And unfortunately, like as you mentioned, Christina, the Iraqi Kurdistan, or Kurdistan was divided as the outcome of the First World War. And anything happening in the region is impacting Iraqi Kurdistan, and the area we always saying it's boiling. Whenever something happen in the neighboring countries, it will impact Iraqi Kurdistan, and people have to leave. They cannot feel safe anymore. And we have many people who left it from the war to seeking asylum or to be safe, but they were just died or drowned in the sea. Like the first sea that I hear, the name of the first sea that I heard when I was a child, it was Agency, because like many people in my neighborhood, they were living. My brother, including my brother, he took the Agency. So for us, like the war and like the equation is like that. When you have a war, you have to leave. You cannot stay in the area anymore, and you cannot function normally. You cannot operate. Yeah.
Thanks a lot for this. And Nefeli, now I think we all know that Lesbos is not directly impacted by conflicts, as for example, it's happening in Palestine or in Iraqi Kurdistan. But still, it's a key transit point for many migrants in the recent years. What are the current migration policies, and how are they affecting people on the move?
Thank you, Christina. The situation, even Lesbos, that it's, as we mentioned, that it's not a transit point, and it's a transit point, and the reason that we choose also this line of the speakers, it's because, as Amir and Kamaran mentioned, it's a GNC, and we are the point that a lot of people from the regions are passing through here. As you maybe know, in the past, since 2014 and even earlier, there was a lot of people, there were a lot of migrants who were passing by the Aegean Islands in Greece, which Lesbos is based in the east side of Greece and the border with Turkey. And the situation then, it was that millions were passing by, their processes were fast, and it was very easy, or not so complicated, let's call it, to even get asylum and be able to travel to Central Europe or to different places. The last years, with different government changes during the years, also in a Central European level, but also in a Greek level, the policies have changed in the context that they trying to be really, let's say, against migrants and people on the move, which means with different actions, the authorities and in Greece and in a Central European level, by doing practices which are by doing pushbacks in the Aegean Sea, and which means that when a boat is passing by with migrants, mainly from Turkey, what is happening is that the Hellenic Coast Guard trying to prevent to enter in the Greek waters, which when you are entering the national waters, as you may know, it's when you arrive in a country, you have the right to apply for asylum. What is happening is that the Hellenic Coast Guard, what does it's that they push people back to the Turkish water, and they leave them there adrift, which means that these people, they might be in danger, they might cause a shipwreck, they might even, as Kamaran said, drown from these practices and from these actions. The thing is that why it's a common practice, because as Lesbos, as Greece, it's, let's say, the borders connected to Turkey and to this path, not even to Turkey, but also to it's one country of the Mediterranean. In general, the Central European policies is trying to lead to push all the way to these countries like Greece, Italy, and Spain, and then on the land, Bulgaria and the rest of the Balkan route. So they try to prevent people from passing by and enter in the European context. In parallel, what's happening here in Lesbos and on the other islands too, is that by creating closed detention centers. It's when it used to, in the past, we used to have open camp, let's say camps / detention center, which people, they were like the famous Moria that you might have heard already, and in 2020 burned down. After that was created another camp, which is called at the moment Karatepe Mavrovuni, which host peoples. And the goal of the Greek government and the European state is to create closed controlled centers, which means that people will in the middle of nowhere, which is like very out of the city and without any contact and without any easy connection to the cities. In the new camp is creating, is not operating anymore, in the middle of a forest, of the biggest forest in Lesvos, which means that people who will be there will be trapped in literally nowhere, which means that they will not have easy access to education and to even to get a bus to come to the city. The authorities will control them and tie them by security systems and with digital cards, etc. Which means that it's the whole process. It's like to try to create a very arbitrary situation for migrants, and by sending a message which says like, do not try to cross here because it's so difficult, and we are and it's gonna be so violent for you to come here, which you do not even try to come. Thank you.
Thank you all for this introduction. And basically, I'd like to invite you all to think a little bit these routes that people might take in order to reach to a better condition of life, to safety, and think people that they might live from Palestine or from Iraqi Kurdistan, trying to pass the territorial waters and enter to European Union, and find out that basically what awaits them is the same oppression, probably the dangers that they were run away from them are welcoming at the same time in the Aegean with violent and deadly pushbacks and closed detention centers, that they are more like a prison than a camp or other type of facilities. I'd like to pass now to the second round of questions and ask Amira, how do global policies and regional conflicts impact Palestinian communities, particularly those facing displacement in the areas of Masafer Yada and Al Makhrour Valley?
Thank you, Christina. Global policies and regional conflicts have a direct impact on Palestinian communities, especially those at risk of displacement. While international laws, such as the Fourth Geneva Convention, Rule 131, state that displaced civilians must be provided with proper shelters, hygiene, healthcare, safety, and food. These protections are not applied to Palestinians. The international community has failed to hold Israel accountable for its actions, allowing the ongoing occupation and displacement to continue with consequences. Instead of taking action to protect Palestinians' rights, many countries have shifted toward supporting migration as a solution, rather than addressing the causes of displacement. One of the biggest concerns is that world leaders, such as Donald Trump, have openly suggested relocating Palestinians to other countries. Many governments with right-wing policies do not support Palestinian resistance, but instead facilitate migration by promoting job opportunities abroad. Countries in Europe, US, and others present migration as an attractive option for young people, offering better economic stability and employment opportunities. Due to the human unemployment rate, the worsening economic conditions in Palestine, many young people feel forced to leave in search for a better future. Unlike other displaced communities, Palestinians do not have an option for illegal migration, so their main legal destination are usually Egypt and Jordan, and from there they can go to other countries, and sometimes it might be illegal, but the first step it's legal in Egypt for Gazan people and Jordan for the people from the West Bank. The Palestinian economy for the government is also heavily controlled by Israel and international aid, making life even more unstable. Much of the financial support for government, salaries, and social assistance come from external sources, and Israel have the power to withhold or delay these funds. Many Palestinians rely on government jobs, but due to the inflation and financial non-sustainable work, they are looking for additional work to consider leaving their homelands. In places like Masafir Yatta and Al Makhrur Valley, displacement is happening at an alarming rate. Israel continue to seize more lands, making it nearly impossible for Palestinians to remain in their homes. Without strong international intervention, forced displacement will only increase, leaving Palestinian communities with fewer and fewer options for survival.
Thank you, Amira. Kamaran, I'd like to ask you, how have external factors and regional conflicts, particularly the ongoing Israeli attacks on Palestine and the tension between Turkey and Greece or European countries, impacted the people of Iraqi Kurdistan?
Thanks, Christina. As I mentioned in the first answer, Kurdistan was divided after the First World War to Iran, Syria, Iraq, and Turkey. So if something happened in Turkey, it will immediately impact Iraqi Kurdistan. If something happened in Iran, it will immediately impact Iraqi Kurdistan and vice versa. So what's happening in Palestine right now? Like last year, Iraqi Kurdistan also was impacted by that. Israel was threatening the paramilitary groups in Iraq to be bombed. And in one night, the international community bombed most of the bases of the like paramilitary groups, which is, we are calling them Hashd al-Sha'bi. They are claiming they are funded by Iran. So like I remember, like people were feeling very unsafe that night. And also Iran claimed that they are bombing Israel or like Palestine. They said we are bombing the Israeli government. And I was home and I was seeing the missiles going over Iraq. And one of the missiles was dropped down very close to our hometown. So like the whole night, nobody could sleep, and like looking at the missiles going, and also Iran, when the Gaza war started, Iran bombed one of the house of one of the businessmen in Iraqi Kurdistan, and claiming that it was the base of Mossad in Erbil. So whenever something happened in the region, it will immediately impact Iraqi Kurdistan. And also not only about that, like we see in everywhere in the world, the conservative or right-wing parties are taking power, or they are controlling power now. Like with the Trump is coming back to the power. It immediately impacted Iraqi Kurdistan. Like after he said there's no any gender difference, like only we have men and women. As soon as he said that, the like former president of Iraqi Kurdistan, which he still have a lot of influence, he said we support what Trump said. And also the human rights situation, like in terms of journalists, activists, like we are expecting with having Trump in US, many things, a lot of more obstacles would be made for the journalists and activists here. And going back to your question about Greece and Turkey, whenever Turkey is signing an agreement with the Europe or they have some mutual interests together, they will close the border that people cannot. So people are trying to take even more difficult ways. Can you hear me? Hello? Yeah?
I can hear you, but you are a bit frozen on the screen.
Close. The agency would be closed towards to Iraqi Kurdish people or the other people as well. People are trying to take more dangerous ways. For example, Bilal Rashad in 2021, like it was a huge wave of the people taking this border. People got stuck in the border between Belarusian government and Poland government. So they could not leave the area. They just got stuck. Either you are died or like you die or you will try to find something else. And many people died on the border. And also because we have population, like we have Kurdish population in Turkey, for example, if something happened there to our people in Turkey, people will migrate to Iraqi Kurdistan. And also Turkey try to follow them, to catch them and bomb them. So any regional conflict that happen in the area, it will immediately impact Iraqi Kurdistan and also impact the economy also of Iraqi Kurdistan, and it will make people to leave the area.
Thank you, Kamaran. Nefeli, on your side, how do you think that external factors, including ongoing attacks and tensions in Palestine and in Nike region, affect the movement, the people on the move, like people who migrate, etc.?
As also stated from Kamaran said, I will mention a bit about the Palestinian people at the moment. To be honest, the effects after the 7th of October, we haven't seen them yet in Lesvos. The majority of the Palestinians in general, they pass by through the Aegean route and not from the land borders in North Greece. But they were like Palestinians who were already either in Turkey for many years or either in Egypt, who they fly to Turkey and then they try to pass by the borders. Here in Palestinian migrants, even some of the majority of them, or they are getting asylum in Greece. At the same moment, now there have been so many pushbacks with Palestinian people who, through testimonies, they have said like that they are policemen and Hellenic Coast Guard and Turkish Coast Guard, they're violating the rights. There are people who have been trying to pass by the borders for many times. They have been apprehended from Hellenic Coast Guard and Turkish Coast Guard, which even the fact that they are threatened, they have been threatening the people, that they should go back to Gaza and to get killed because they don't want them in Turkey or even in Greece. There is what's going on is that when people are getting arrested or are getting they are being pushed back, the Hellenic Coast Guard throws them all the paper when they catch them in the sea from the boat. They throw them all the paper and all their mobile phones and all the money, and if they abandon them adrift on a boat, when they have been rescued from the Turkish Coast Guard, they end up being again in Turkey in a detention center without money, without a mobile phone, or even without documents, which means that it makes their situation very difficult, and their journey again to pass by from the borders for another times it's such a difficult way, which is their journeys just continue. Because it's, in the other hand, also as it's a very recent result from our team, is that a lot of people also are getting criminalized as boat, the so-called boat drivers, which means that people are getting, they accuse them from the Hellenic Coast Guard that they drive a boat and they get many years of a sentence and they end up in a Greek prison. There is a very recent trial that we monitored last week that there was a Palestinian who was arrested and who was beaten from the Hellenic Coast Guard, and that was proved because he had a lot of bruises and injuries. He spent many months in the prison in Athens and luckily was acquitted from all the charges, but this doesn't change the fact that he spent already close to 1 year in the Greek prison, and also that he has a new struggle now for his asylum process to continue because he's in a detention center in Athens until he gets his paper. On the other hand, and that could be a question for the Q&A also, at the moment in Lesvos, there are not so many people from Iraqi Kurdistan, but this also could be from the discussion in, for Kamaran, maybe make already the one question. Thanks.
Nefeli, would you like to share a little bit some things about pushbacks? If I'm not wrong, Greece deny this and this is an illegal practice by international law.
Yeah, about pushbacks, first of all, it's Greece is denying that it's doing pushbacks. It's the general narrative of from the state. It's that the Hellenic Coast Guard is securing the borders with different ways, and it's the right of the national securities to do this. It's very common that Greece is doing pushbacks in all the islands. In the past, they used to do it also from the land, which means that even people that they have been found on land in Greece, in Lesvos, they have been kidnapped and they have been put again on a boat and they have been left adrift inside the Aegean Sea. There is a very famous article that had been published 1.5 years ago, and actually it was the first case few months ago that from the European Court of Human Rights have been proved that Greece is doing pushbacks, and there was a compensation for a guy who have been pushed back, and they accused Greece for doing that. But unfortunately, this is a continuous practice, and it's at least now it's not common, but they have stopped doing pushbacks from land. But if you check, because it's a public source, the Greek numbers and the numbers in the Turkish Hellenic Coast Guard and how many people have been rescued every day, they're happening from 20 to 50 pushbacks every day from different islands, and it's a public source. Everyone can show it, and it's it's the narrative that Greece is protecting the borders.
Thanks, Nefeli, a lot. I'd like to ask Amira, what role does CPT play in supporting Palestinian communities affected by forced displacement and restricted movement? And somehow to ask how international solidarity can contribute, is able to contribute into these efforts.
Can you hear me? Okay. CPT Palestine supporting Palestinian communities by being present on the ground. accompanying people facing displacement, and documenting human rights violations by sharing their stories and highlight the advocating for justice. CPT helps bring international attention to the struggles Palestinians endure under the occupation. While the team provides limited direct assistance, the reality is that the situation is much bigger than what any single organization can address alone. However, raising awareness and amplifying Palestinian voices are essential steps in resisting displacement and oppression. International solidarity in is strengthening these efforts. People around the world can pressure their governments to hold Israel accountable and demand action against the ongoing human rights violation. Sharing Palestinian stories and raising awareness help counter the expose the realities of occupation. Supporting Palestinian-led movement and organizations like CPT ensure that communities resisting forced displacement are not left alone. There are also direct ways to support CPT Palestine work. People can sign for our monthly newsletter to stay informed, and you can see the updates from the field from H2 and Masafer Yatta, and you can register for our delegations to witness the situation and live with people and hear their stories, and donate to help CPT to stay on the ground and be with the people.
Thank you, Amira. Amaran, community peacemaker teams have been active in Iraqi Kurdistan since 2006. Can you share some of the efforts of the team has made to support communities affected by war and conflict in the Iraqi Kurdistan region?
Thanks, Christina. Our team since 2006 documenting and reporting about Turkish and Iranian military operations. And we are the only organization in Iraqi Kurdistan which works on this matter, on this subject. So whenever a bombardment happens, we are going to the villages, taking the story from people and sharing the story of the people, because the area is really restricted for the journalists, for other activists to go. So what we as CPT, when we get like information or like a story, we will share it with the international community, and also locally, we are the main source for the media to have a narrative that Turkey and Iran is bombing civilians beside of the PKK guerrillas and other Kurdish rebel groups as well. And also, like we, with our presence with the people, like we are not providing anything, we are not providing any means, but just listening to them, it's something like helping the resistance of the people in the villages. Because sometimes when we are going, they say, even our local government, the mayors, no one is coming to even listen to us. So with our presence, we are accompanying them and also supporting the resistance in the villages. And also, no one has been compensated. When they would be killed or injured, their families haven't been compensated. So there are two laws in Iraq that people should be compensated, but these two laws haven't been implemented yet. So we as a CPT IK team, it's been for 2 years, we are working on getting compensation for people, working with the Iraqi government, and sharing data with them. Because the first time when we talked to them, they said the problem is there is no any data. Like we don't have any data how many people have been killed or injured. So we as the team, with the support of local partners, we collected all the data from 1991 until now. How many people have been killed? How many people have been injured? Their ID, their death certificate, everything. And we have provided to the Iraqi government, and now Iraqi government, they promised to compensate them, and we are hoping this month they will start to give the like compensation to the people. And another thing, documentation is a big thing and also very essential. In Kurdistan, we are always saying Anfal campaign that Bashir's regime conducted against Kurdish people almost 180,000 people died in that campaign, but that campaign hasn't been documented. We don't know how, like, we don't know the name of the people who are being killed, the villages, nothing. But we as CPT, we could document the Turkish and Iranian military operations and being with the people, amplifying their voices. And in the same time, whenever a journalist or activist being arrested, threatened, or facing any kind of obstacles, we as CPT, we are supporting them. The very recent case was Badinam prisoners case, where 81 journalists and activists who were arrested because of their journalism and activism work. We participated in the court hearing. We went to the prison, sharing our reports with the consulates in Iraqi Kurdistan, putting pressure on Kurdistan regional government to release them. And we did it with the support of some other NGOs and some diplomatic mission in Iraqi Kurdistan. Now, two of the prisoners are still in prison. I can say whenever someone be arrested, they will reach out to CPT trying to support them. About the like how the international community and other people outside of Iraqi Kurdistan can support our projects. So one thing is very important, joining delegation, because when you are coming to the field, hearing directly from the people, it's completely different with hearing from me, like hearing from somebody else. It's very, very different. And also with your presence, you are delivering a message that you care about them. You care about their pain, about their cause, and it matters to you. So it's very important. The second thing is, as I said, CPT-IK is the only team or organization working in Iraqi Kurdistan on the cross-border military operations. It's very important to be supported financially as well. So it would be great if people can donate for CPT that we can continue to do this work. If you will not have support, we cannot continue, then even CPT would not be present in Iraqi Kurdistan to share the story of these people, to amplify the voice of these people who have been killed or injured. And the last thing can be a support for our work is sharing our reports. Our last report, it was a big report about covering all the civilian casualties by Turkish and Iranian military operations. It would be great if you will share with your circle or community that people or everyone can know what's happening on the field. But again, I echo what I said. Please join the delegation. It is very different with hearing from somebody else. Hear directly from the people who are impacted by the war in Iraq.
Thank you, Kamaran. Nefeli, I'd like to ask you, what is the CPT's role in Lesvos and how does your work contribute or impact the current situation there?
Thank you, Christina. As already mentioned before, the main work, let's say, and main focus from the beginning, even if it has changed year by year, because also the situation in Lesbos has changed a lot, is by doing trial monitoring, which means that we try to be present in the court of in cases that people have been accused for the so-called boat driving or smuggling or human trafficking injustly, which means that by being there and we monitor and their case reporting the situation inside the court. Because in the past, not even in the past, even now, there are basic human rights that they are being violated during the trials, which means people, they are not having, the majority of the time, they don't have a proper interpreter, which is the court should be obliged to provide an interpreter in their own language. There are also sometimes they're not providing lawyers who have the the time to be prepared for a case like this. Or even we have ended up listening a lot of racist words inside the court, which we shouldn't be these words to be heard. And by monitoring these cases and reporting these cases, we're trying to gather the data together with other partners, and trying to create and file all this data to understand the narrative, which means that for these people, the judicial system, it's very unfair. And together also with other partners, we have wrote a report and 2 reports, and we have contributed about cases that have been lasted even for 35 minutes. And how can you think about a case to be lasted so few, and imagine that people are even receiving sentences which is like 200 years, which means that someone will be in prison for 20 years in a case that she might didn't have either the time to express themselves why this had happened and why she might even forced to drive a boat. Because and on the other thing also, in the past we have monitored cases that human rights defenders have been accused for espionage, because in the past, or money laundering and different charges, because in the past the Greece has accused and targeted human rights defenders and people who were working in NGO, where they were seeing rescuers and they were trying to rescue people. And by criminalizing them, it helped to control the situation and to do not have any witness in the scene. And people, they have been dragged to courts, which likely they have been acquitted because the process was ridiculous, to be honest. And by us, together with different networks and to different partners, be inside the courts and trying to being witnesses, we have the chance and the ability to raise awareness and speak out loud about these cases. Because including this, we are trying to advocate and having campaigns where maybe you have heard that there was a huge shipwreck that had happened last 2 years or 1.5 years ago in June, the so-called Pilos shipwreck that the Helen Goskar towed the huge boat, which was called Adriana, with more than 500 people who they have been drowned in the West Greece on their way from Libya to Italy, and the 9 people were accused for smuggling and facilitating. And we were part, and together with other partners in a huge campaign, trying to raise awareness and trying to bring people together with the lawyers and together with the families, and to speak out loud about this kind of cases, because it's very important for us on like what we would like also from, let's say, from how to support. It's first of all, it's very important to bring awareness, raise awareness about this kind of cases, because there are so many cases that are happening that of people on the move who have been faced so many huge sentences, and no one is paying attention to this, unfortunately. And what we are trying to bring awareness and publicize about these cases. The second, and this could happen like through our social media and through to try to follow the news Lesvos. Also, we are having a delegation in June, and we would be very happy to have you here and even brace to your circles and communities to see the situation, how this has changed here in Lesvos, and how people have been affected from the migration policies. And by having you here, it would be a nice chance to speak with partners, lawyers, human rights defenders, and even people who have faced these trials and have been impacted from this trial, likely be acquitted, some of them, but also it doesn't mean that it wasn't a huge burden for them until to reach to this level. And of course, as Kamarant and Amira said, like by supporting financially CPT, it's something that helps us a lot to remain here and stay on the ground wherever we are. And every contribution by sharing social media, it's very important. Thank you.
Thank you all for this. I'd like to ask the people in case that they do have questions, they can add them to the chat. It will be very nice to continue the discussion with all of you. And just to repeat that it's very important for us, all of us. There are several ways, basically, that we can feel supported, and even starting with social media, sharing social media of all of our teams. Donation is also highly important for all of the teams, and I mean not only the three delegates that they are here now, but also the rest of the teams of CPT. Um, it's extremely helpful for all of us. And again, please, if you are thinking to join a delegation, you can move forward and apply for all of the delegation. It's very important also for all of us to have people with our teams to to have like also a third eye into this, because all of us, we are living in the situation that we are at every day, and it's also very, very important to hear from people that they are not in this situation, to get the support from them with their presence, and to be able to share common experience. And last point also that goes beyond this neighborhood of countries and reach up in the other side of Atlantic, it's that for sure Trump's administration will affect especially people across, but also, as mostly the previous speakers have said, it will affect actually all of us. So yes, this was what I'd like to add in this, and I think I can read some of the questions. How can civil society support for the Palestinian cause be strengthened in Europe and US, especially in an environment where pro-Palestinian voices are often defamed as anti-Semitic? It's one question. I guess this can go to Amira.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. As I mentioned before, you have always to highlight the Palestinian stories. You have to tell the people about what is happening here, raise the awareness and highlight these stories. We have a delegation in May. I really would encourage people to assign for this delegation to come to the Palestine, to the ground, and see on your eyes what is happening, because it's super different. People can make a pressure on their governments to hold Israel accountable, and the last thing you can do is to share from the social media the Palestinian stories, to try to save the history at least, and show the people that you are still with them, because people, when see the people around the world still supporting and understand what is happening, it's meaning a lot to them.
Thanks, Amira. I think I will continue with one more question. How to increase political pressure on European governments to stop arms export to Turkey, especially from Germany, which amount to 336 million euros only in 2024, especially in view of its use against Kurds in Syria and in Iraq?
Thanks for this question. I think it's for me, Christina, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks for this question. So it's not only Germany, even US, Canada, Italy, most of the European countries and US and other countries, they are supporting Turkey because Turkey is a member of NATO, like the second largest military they do have in NATO. And we always say Turkish drones are nothing without the support of Germans and UK and Canada, because most of the parts have been imported from Germany, Canada, and UK, and then they will assemble them, especially with the lens. They do have very big lens, and it should be very precise, the lens. So they are getting from Canada, from Germany, from UK. And also with the Italian government, they provide Mangusta helicopters to Turkey. US is providing F-16 fighter jets to Turkey. So the political pressure can be like talk to the parliamentarians or anyone that you have contacted with. They can have influence on the government to stop selling weapons to Turkey. We as CPT, we documented few incidents that, for example, once with the Canadian weapon, Turkey bombed and killed a 17 years old girl while she was farming. And also with the Germany, like we found some pieces of shrapnels and they were coated on them. We could find out with some experts that they are belonging to Germany. And we already talked to the UK government, Germany, Canada. We showed them the evidence that how with your weapon, our people in Iraqi Kurdistan being killed or injured or displaced. So they always have an excuse, you know, like as they did have for US invasion in Iraqi Kurdistan. But we should continue to work on that. And I invite the person who asked the question, you can come to Iraqi Kurdistan, join a delegation and see with the German weapon or European countries' weapon, how they are killing and injuring people. And then you can report to your like local medias in Germany or in European countries, then it can be a pressure on the government.
One more question. This time, I think it's for Nefeli. Which countries in Europe are still open to refugees who find themselves in Lesvos? It's the question.
Thanks for the question. To be honest, apart from through the Europe, because it's European Union and the Schengen agreements, all the countries in Europe are open for refugees. But the thing is that if a person in Greece might receive travel documents to go to another country, it's able to do it with a huge delay, because it's very tiring and delaying process. But the problem is that if with the new European pacts that have been voted the last June, the thing is that even if it goes someone in other country, it's not guaranteeing that he will receive an asylum to, for example, in Germany or to Belgium or wherever. The thing is that if she doesn't receive an asylum through the new agreement, she will be brought back to Greece or wherever, to another country. And also now with all this new election results that all the different countries are far-right governments have been raised, and the fact that they try to create a very anti-refugee movement by, for example, especially in Germany with AfD and trying to closing the borders even inside the federation, etc. They have created a movement that they are trying to deport people even from Germany. So, you know, it's open, but if they made it to receive an asylum in Greece, because also it's if you're not from a very specific nationality, it's very difficult to receive an asylum in Greece nowadays. But afterwards, also, it's how you will survive to a system like this. It's unknown.
Thank you, Nefeli. And I think this is also complementary to what it has been said before. Like, I think largely the European political context is changing to the right, and this is also through the influence of the states, to be honest. And soon, especially in Germany, I think in the upcoming elections, it will be a huge turn towards the right, as it's happening already to many countries, and this will influence in a very negative way people on the move, human rights defenders, LGBTQ movement, and several other groups of people which they look like a minority, but if you count it in the end, they're not so much minority. It's a lot of people affected by this. So also to continue with the question, I'm not sure which countries they will welcome refugees, but it's a struggle of all of us to force towards this direction, even inside our own states. I will be happy if we have more questions. Is there something else that people would like to ask? I don't have that much yet. So at this point, I'd like to announce that this webinar will be available on our website in cpt.org and also in our YouTube channel, because I also saw in the chat that there are a lot of people that they will be happy to share it, and we are very thankful for this. So I think we can close the discussion a bit earlier than expected. It will be also nice in case that you have other questions to reach up to the teams maybe for direct question or information. The email you can find in the CPT webpage, or as it is written on the chat right now. In case that you think something later that interested you. Thank you all very much for your presence here and your time. And we really, really hope to see you also in the future in similar occasions like webinars and etc. Or even in present, like joining one of the delegations of our teams. Is something else that like to add something?
Thank you very much for being here and for hosting this webinar, and see you all on a Saturday evening, morning. I see there is a last question. If we just bump to a last question. Christina?
Yes, I think there is one. Are CPT advocates being welcomed in any of our sites of presence?
I can answer this question, Christina, from
Go, Cameron.
yeah. So Rosemary, she served with our team for many years. She was coming as a reservist, and I'm very happy that she's here. She joined it. Definitely in Iraqi Kurdistan, our work has been very welcomed by people, by the local communities, by the people who have been impacted by the bombardments, by the journalists who we advocated for, but by the government, local government, it's never ever been welcomed like that. Whenever we are working and whenever we are trying to put pressure on them to not do what they are doing, they will try to stop our registration in Iraqi Kurdistan. They try to stop us in the checkpoints. Even they have some shadow media on their shadow media on their social media. Sometimes they are even accusing us to be affiliated with the like Iranian groups, to be affiliated with some neighboring groups. So it's not. I can easily say our work is not being welcomed by the people who are doing oppression, who we are working against their oppression. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Cameron. I would like to talk about how is the situation in Palestine. CPT in Palestine, super welcomed from the community. They really love how CPT, because now it's the only organization who observe at the checkpoints and going to the homes and listen to the people's stories and highlight it. So people always so welcomed from the Palestinian, but not from the Israeli occupation. On the checkpoints, we face many stops and detentions, especially when they know that we are CPT. So we got detained for many times while we are wearing our vest on the restricted area. So after that, we stopped to do that. Because they don't want any international or national organization to be in the area. So sometimes or always now we are to pass from these checkpoints, we said that we are just locals or we have relatives inside we want to visit. So yeah, it depends on who are want to welcome us. Check.
I'd like to thank you, Amira and Kamaran. I'd like to pass the floor to Leo Gabriel because he raised his hand and I guess he has a question. You are muted.
I am one of the founders of the World Social Forum, and our intention is to make social forums around different subjects. There's a World Social Forum of Migration also, and we are presently preparing a huge gathering, which is in an area which has not been touched here, which is Central America, and but which is now very, very important because of, Trump and his position over there. And we are reflecting not only about how bad things are. We know that things are very, very bad. But what would be a way out, an alternative? And what we are after in this big gathering, which will take place the 25th of April in Honduras, where many of the refugees from South America, from the Caribbean and so on, go their way up, is that we say the politics of the governments in the area, be it Mexico or Guatemala or wherever, has to change radically in the sense to give a space for not only humanitarian aid, but for really have an alternative community, autonomous communities, which are would be capable to substitute this going north, which is becoming deadly now with the Trump position he has, worse than anywhere else. I wonder whether you all thought also about alternatives in the other regions, what you can do, not as only a humanitarian aid for people going north, but to have an alternative to going north and make a political movement to press governments to accept that being migrant or refugee is not let's say, a living thing. It's a necessity. It is a need, and one has to fulfill this need according to whatever resolutions in the United Nations also have been passed.
I can partially answer this and then I'll give the floor to the rest of the speakers. First of all, good luck wholeheartedly with the things that you are organizing and you are partaking with, either the meeting in Honduras or in every attempt in the US, in the central US to organize in this. I think it's extremely important and it's something that well, I think we all share in common, although we are living in different regions. So on the one hand, like please, I don't know, send us an email how that goes, update us about struggles like this. It's very important to be informed about them and to be united. And even there is a notion that separates us, we should know what is happening and we should be able to support in that sense. Regarding the struggles of migrants themselves, I think there is a very essential thing that it's for sure beyond human rights. And currently, it's an issue, especially in European Union, that it's like European Union it's shooting its own legs somehow. Because the identity of migrant is there to keep you without papers, to keep you without rights, but at the same time, it's an identity that it's needed for the countries to have you illegal, but as a cheap labor force, which is very much needed to most of the countries. What I mean is that most of the people that they are coming to Europe as migrants are the people that they are doing jobs that it's care jobs, it's jobs in the hospitals, etc., etc. So, on that sense, this is something that we should all have to understand. And yes, I think there are a lot of organized attempts from migrants themselves that they also have the support of local communities as well. And I'll pass to everybody else that might wants to continue.
To which email address can I address?
I think it's on the chat, just, yeah. I'm just putting on the chat right now.
Thank you.
So I think this will be all for today. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for your support, your questions, your attendance, and everything. and we wish you all a nice morning, evening, afternoon, whatever is for all of you.
Christina, I think we have another question.
Oh,
from-
sorry.
Don't worry. She just sent it now. Sabah,
Yeah, Sabah, you can
Hello,
speak
can you hear
if you
me?
want.
hi.
Yeah.
Since we were, well, first of all, thank you so much for this informative session, and thank you so much for everything that you do. I'll try to be as quick as possible. I just wanted to say, and in line with what was said and what Leah just mentioned, I truly believe that what is happening around the world is affecting every single person. Literally, be it in the West, be it in the Middle East. And as someone, I'm from Jordan, and I can safely say that no one wants to leave their home, no one wants to leave their land. And while immigration or refugees is somewhat of a safe haven due to a dire situation, it was mentioned earlier, it's a symptom to a root cause. And I think if we go back to it and really collectively as people across the world say, we are done with this, we don't want to be treated as numbers or as whatever, like each person has a right to determine what they're going to do, and the government, be it the government, whoever is managing the world, should be providing it to each and every single person. It's not a data game, basically. I hope I conveyed my message in this very short time, and thank you so much once again.
Thank you so much, Sabah.
Okay, Amir.
Thanks a lot for this. I think it will be the third time that I have to say goodbye. Should I wait a little bit more? I don't know. No, I think safe to say it will be the last time for this webinar. Again, thank you all. Have a nice day and goodbye.
Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone, for being here.
Thank you.